Well, like, because it's like the guy that you voted in or whatever, your fake fairy tale guy or whatever. Like, you might think that he's like, so awesome or whatever, and like, I'll just give up all my rights because I really trust him. And then 4 years later, you have a total stranger in.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do then? He's got all those rules.
I
so
can't,
like, he's got all that power you gave him.
all the time. Whenever there's a Republican in office, Democrats are like, fucking let's burn all these rules down so we can do whatever we want. Whenever there's a Democrat in office, Republicans are like, let's burn all these rules down so we can do whatever we want. It's like
back and forth.
But
it's like
it's by design. Like,
a lot of people think it's a good idea to get rid of all the rules so that their side can temporarily win whatever's supposedly important right now.
Is that not intentional? Like, you have two equally sized parties that are actually one party, and then they're both trying to strip different rights, and everybody gives in to both of them. Then it goes to the next one right when people are about to like
lose it.
Or you get another 4 years with a new guy, and it's like, oh, like at least we got somebody else. Now he's just talking about stripping my freedom of speech. It's just a new line. I love it. Like, it's like,
It's great.
Yeah, like
there's like mad people though that are like, we need to. I mean, I think it's cooled down a little bit, but like beginning of this year when there was a lot of people who were like, Trump won.
Yeah.
Like people who were like, we need to get the military on the streets and start like taking people out. What are you talking? You want the military to come into towns and start killing people. That's what you're saying you want.
Yeah, no.
That's when I feel very scared.
But see, this stuff is like there's definitely a intentional push towards radicalization, and to what end I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's really just looks like basically a destabilization to keep people.
It's probably like a more profitable version of bread and circuses. Like,
I think
like
so.
They can extract more money from you, and they don't even have to actually give you anything.
Yeah,
just keep you like fucking amped up.
Yeah, no,
and if anything, it makes you spend more money.
Yeah. People get amped up and they're like, it's all going to hell or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna like go to dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Spend extra money. Yeah.
Stock up on oats and beans. I don't know.
I
don't know if the government's making a lot of money on bean sales.
But that like
people are too far removed from history, I think.
Oh, so
that
much.
I feel like that's where it stems from. I don't know.
Well, because I think they do obviously an intentionally poor job at educating you in history in school, and they make it super boring so you don't retain anything.
Yeah.
So little you do, you get a little bit of propaganda history, and it's like, okay, like I remember Columbus, and he's like a cartoon character.
Right.
I get that. And he came over, and everybody partied.
There was one bad guy, Hitler.
Yeah.
He was bad because he was racist.
Yeah.
And I think that covers it all.
Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. There's Nazis and there's regular people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that like
no, it's
like,
been 100
a lot
Hitlers.
More. Yeah. But that like
there's a bunch right now hanging out like doing weird shit in other countries that we don't even know about.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of people know about them, but there's some guy in Africa, right? I don't know, somewhere doing crazy shit like that.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know who
building
it is,
an army for whatever.
Yeah. Genociding people and stuff.
See, that's that stuff too. Like they do. They're super like into trying to like oppress people who are take people down who are like oppressing people, and like but yet you have these people who are just blatantly doing it for like they went into the Middle East and they have tons of resources and stuff, and they're just like, oh, like he was treating these people like shit, and it's like, and then they go in and then they just let the Taliban take over, and they're like, well, whatever. Like,
what are you gonna do?
It's just like, but then you have people like in North Korea. I caught it. Yeah. But in North Korea, there are literally people just in like actual concentration camps, just starving and stuff, and they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like it's very interesting. Yeah, like
all they got is dirt farms over there.
It's
so
messy.
What do we care?
It's,
like
it's beyond interesting. It's pretty fucked up.
Oh,
it's fucked up.
Well, a big part of what's happening there too is that the embargoes and stuff, they actually are intentional. They're not like, obviously their leader's a piece of shit or whatever, but they're not starving because of his bad leadership. He's there. He's not going to kill himself, so he's just going to be there until he's not. But the embargoes are what is starving people. It's actually our country starving them. Like they're not trading food with them or products or labor. And then they're like, look at how fucked up. He can't even manage this place. Everybody's dying of starvation or whatever. And it's like they're in the Arctic Circle basically, and they can make food for 2 months a year, and they need to trade with the rest of the world to feed that many people. And what's funny about it though is that they just it's all this shit. They just repaint it as they literally are doing the fucked up thing and then saying they're not, and everyone just believes them. It's like,
if you look into a few of those things, if it, like I don't know, at this point I'm kind of disillusioned. I don't, when I'm interested, I'll go down a rabbit hole about something. But it's like, too many times of like, before it should even started, I'm like, oh, this is a fucking scam. And it's every time you look at anything, it's always a scam, and like they never are doing what they say they're doing. Like like the Afghanistan war, that's relevant. It'll probably be relevant when this comes out too. Like I remember when that started, and I was in high school. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. What's actually going on here? Like the reasons they're giving, none of this makes sense. I can't believe that military officials, who they must be somewhat educated on history. You know, like we're like, oh yeah, no, this is what we'll do. We'll just go in, we'll just put in a democracy, and then we'll take off. No problem. Like they knew this was going to happen before it started. And they did it anyway. They knew it last time. They knew it in Venezuela. They knew it in Argentina. They knew it the last 50 times they've done it.
Well, it's because
and it didn't work out.
But it's because there's certain places where they're armed well enough. Those are the places where that doesn't work. If you can go into a place where they don't have guns and stuff, they just effectively take them over. And then they become whatever you want them to be.
Well, when it does work, when they do like take over, it's not good for the people that live there. You know, generally like.
But in these particular places where it didn't work out, and like our government and the Russian government, like all of these places were taken over by the Russian government. And then they failed. Right. And then our government's like, let me get a crack at it or whatever. And then we also failed.
Of course.
But that's because they're super well armed. And they obviously, nobody wants to be taken over by some alien coming in and just trying to dictate shit. Like, so like, and then it's
like. The point wasn't to take them over because we knew we weren't going to.
Well, no, I think it's more of an experiment. They're a model for our country, kind of. Like, what happens if people are well armed? Like, how do you break them? Like, that's kind of what it seems like. So you go in and it's like, it's an experiment, and like, how do you actually get a place to comply if they don't want to comply, but they also have a means of not complying? Right. And they tried a ton of stuff. Like they have done this with like Iraq and stuff as well, and it's the same thing's going to happen. Like they're just going to leave eventually, and
probably the only thing that's really successful that's not militarily is you basically just show off how good you've got it. You know, like you just these countries just like they just see Western culture or something like that. And they want that's what they want.
Oh yeah,
like, you know what I mean, like but.
Make it be their idea.
It's more of a like you can't. It's not a news headline to say like, oh, we slowly influence through globalization this group of people to join us and be more like you know give up some of their dated like human rights violations and stuff. You know?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they knew ahead of time though. Like they could have done like a marketing campaign for trillions of dollars over the course of 20 years, and actually the country would have. Changed how they acted, like,
and they might have been like. Then they might. It's almost like using like in a Brave New World. You're kind of giving people like what they want, and that's a lot of the model here is based on that. Let people buy their cage or whatever, and then they're just like, give me more of my cage, like, lock me down, like, and then like, whereas in countries that they don't already have control over, right. I think they try and they want to get what they want to do is it's a psychological model in animals. Like they want them to feel like they're your bitch, right? And they're like they want them to be like embody being underneath the people who are occupying their country, and then once they like all feel that way, they're broken, and then they can like then you can send in McDonald's and shit, and like but that's like
I mean, that seems to be the tactic. Supposedly, I don't think that I understand what they're doing. Really,
like I mean, I think with like
I've got questions that I know they're lying about the answers, but I'm not sure what's going on.
And
they really wanted Afghanistan
probably
to be
just a way to funnel resources
to not have terrorists. Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty.
Gave them control of a lot of them.
Right? Very
There's
likely,
definitely
like
a lot of different things going on.
A company
there.
pays a governor to support the war. and then they get contracts, and
Yep.
they make money.
They make a
lot
ton
of that
money,
going on.
yeah.
Shitload of money.
And then there's
Hopefully that's all ending soon.
Hopefully.
I think they're going to get smarter about it.
Take the profit out of it.
I may be totally wrong, but I feel like we're kind of getting beyond the point, because I think this is what China's doing. We're getting beyond the point of sending actual military. Like, it's like it's not cost effective. You damage the infrastructure that you want to make your money off of anyway.
Yep.
So let's just like find alternate means of influencing.
Didn't they know that 20 years ago though?
Yeah, but
we're
really
dead
anyway. Set in our ways, though.
Yeah,
like
part of it.
There's a reason we spend so we're just like, no, this is the way things. It's the reason we're a failing country too, is because we're a failing power, is because we're just hanging on. Once you stop looking for the next way of doing things, and you just like lean back on what you've been doing all along, and just think it's going to continue to work over and over again, you're fucked.
Yep.
And see here, like that momentum is actually caused by in a large part by having whole industries that have government subsidies for producing stuff for things that are irrelevant now.
Yeah.
And then there's no World War II's over.
Yeah.
It's done. You can stop.
Yeah. We don't need to mass produce jets anymore.
But because our economy was built on that during World War II, they can't stop.
It's been working. We'll just keep doing it.
Well, it's just like, it's like this company that makes tanks, and they need to show a profit next year. So the government's got to buy a certain amount of tanks every year, or we'll mess up our economy. Or like, every government building needs furniture, so like this furniture company needs to show a 10% profit this year at minimum. So I'm just going to burn all of our furniture and buy new furniture.
Yeah.
They do that with everything. Police,
I know, it's crazy.
Like, we have tons of cars. Like, they make tons and tons of cars, and it's like police cars. It's like, let's just throw out the fleet and get a new one, you know? Because it's the end of the fiscal year, and I want my budget to increase next year. We've been we've saved too much money.
Yeah.
So like all that stuff though fuels the fake economy.
Yeah. Like, it's all level too. It's not even. It's not just military. It's
everywhere.
All levels of industry and everything.
Yep.
You are like, you tighten the shoestrings for the most of the year, and at the end you're like, let's just buy stuff we don't even think we need, just because we don't want them to cut a budget the following year.
And then what happens the next year? They get an increase, and then
because they spent the whole thing. Yeah.
But then they create. There's all forms of waste too. Like, how many of these jobs are necessary? Like, people are talking about creating jobs and stuff. Most jobs,
it's too many jobs
that are government jobs or jobs for companies that are heavily fueled by government subsidies and stuff like that to produce whatever. Like, they're busy work jobs to eat up cash to get a higher payout the following year. And that's unfortunate, but that's you could rather. It's like, if you're talking about like UBI and stuff, for example, like you could literally just pay these people to.
But you can't pay people if they're not working. That's not how it works.
There needs to be.
You have to work and then you get paid.
Yeah. But it's like you're already paying them to sit in a Rube Goldberg device and push a button. Just let them go home and keep paying them.
Like the fucking IRS, I got to send them 800 printed pages of trades. I'm like, I just email you a file. It's already in a file, and then you can just put it right in your program, and it'll just have a program just tell you the answer. You don't have to write down.
Just send us a printed copy, and then we have a guy that reads the printed copy and then types.
They already
have
a
computer.
Copy of it too.
Here's the thing: is that all the entities you're making those trades on have already tattled on you, and the government knows that you traded with them.
The price of the printer ink, cost me $300 to make 800 pages,
and they're like,
how many trees?
It's $50 to mail it to you.
And then if you don't send it in, they're like, they'll just automatically.
That'll be $10,000.
Like, according to all the files that we have, you didn't give us accurate information, so you're gonna have to pay a fine. Like, it's like you already have the information. But that's that there again is another thing that's it's intentional though. It's meant to break you.
Is that a matter of stubbornness and is it a psyop? Is that a matter of stubbornness or is it just money?
Because they work for you, but they want you.
It pays.
Just an outdated system, I think.
Are they still using it because they're stubborn? Or?
I think it's more than that. I think it's literally designed because here's the thing: these are your employees, but they've architected a graceful system in which you are afraid of them punishing you. So that's like going to McDonald's and being afraid that they're going to like throw you in jail if you don't order the right food.
Yeah.
That these are your employees, and they're like,
Or you go to McDonald's and order, and they're like, "All right, pay me now. Better be the right amount." You're like, "How much is it?" They're like, "You tell me." It better be right.
Yeah, that's literally what
it better be right, or I'm going to stab you.
Yeah, and they're like, and I want 800 printed pages about like.
Take a calculator and like. Yeah. Hope you didn't press the wrong button.
Or pay a guy a bunch of money to hope that they didn't.
Push the wrong button.
Yeah. And they're like, I want all of your transactions with McDonald's for the year, and I want them printed out, and you're gonna have to give them to me. It's the end of the fiscal year or whatever. Like that. But that mentality is not an accident. I don't think it's so obvious.
It definitely keeps you afraid of the government. I mean, I also though it's also easy to believe that it's just that Intuit pays congressmen money to keep TurboTax necessary.
Oh yeah, no, that's true too. Like lawyer fees, all that stuff. They're just like parasites.
Like John Oliver did a thing on there. Someone did one, and they're like, it's just lobbyists are paying the government to keep the IRS broken. Well, they create industries
that shouldn't even exist. Yeah. And then then if you fix that problem, those industries go away and the economy hurts. So it's just like,
well, what do human beings do if they don't have a button to push? Maybe that's.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would say
maybe shit just goes crazy if you don't have something to do.
I think for a lot of people, like for me, if I didn't have to work, I'd just actually do work the way it was originally
Same here,
intended,
but there have to be people that...
There's a lot of people who can't do that.
Who just would go blank and have no idea.
Get on drugs and
I think that
fuck up.
Yeah, no, the people...
Delete themselves.
Yeah, because I would say the evidence for the fact that it would work out long term is that there's already people on UBI who have inherited wealth, and they seem to be doing fine.
A lot of them are fucked up too, though. Like a lot of famous people that go crazy.
You need real religion, I feel like. But you would need actual religion.
Well, God would have to come and be like, "I'm real."
Well,
you would really need to see it.
Like actual religion to give you actual meaning and not just fuck with you.
I think that the initial problem, just saying if they just were okay, robots taking all these jobs, we're going to institute UBI this year.
Yeah.
Say hypothetically this happened, you're going to have a decade of disaster.
Yeah.
Well, you just need
it's going to be a bad transition.
Yeah, you need basically a generation of people that weren't raised to believe that your value is your product.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
At a certain point in your life, you can't. Most people can't break away from that concept. It's just going to be ingrained at you for life. I don't like my wife. I think if she didn't have to work, I think it would be a detriment to her mentally.
Yeah. But I think
you'd be surprised though. I think human beings just will rise to the challenge.
I think
and they'll find true meaning and stuff beyond.
But for a while,
their needs have to be met. So that's the problem. I think is that they're not paying them enough for the forms of UBI that exist right now, or far underpaid. So if you're impoverished, then you're going to be troubled way more than if
I know
when you're worrying about your next paycheck, if you can even have a roof over your head or feed your kids. Or, How can you go to work?
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
So I have all basic needs met, and then people will find their own meaning. I mean, there's lots of fun things you can do that benefit society.
I'm not saying it has to be this way, but just that it currently is. That she currently gets validated by doing a good job at work, makes her feel like she's doing a good job.
Right.
In general, she's doing the right thing,
And that would be a hard transition.
Me too. And some jobs are necessary for society.
For me, I don't really care if I do a good job at work as long as they don't fire me. That's where I'm like, well, you pay me for labor, I'll do that labor. You pay me. That's where we are here. Say attaboy as much as you want. I don't give a shit. The paycheck in the mail, But other people and a lot of people, because it's so socially ingrained, but
I think a lot
hard
of people,
work and doing a good job is important to a lot of people.
And I think the way our economy is structured, though, I think tons of people would figure out ways to monetize their own interests anyway.
I think so too.
And it would you'd end up making more money than your UBI anyway. Because
there'd be a lot of people starting a restaurant. People who are really good at cooking, but are maybe a little too savvy where they're like, I'm not opening a fucking restaurant. I don't want to work 16-hour weeks and for 3 years and then be in debt when I get out of it.
I think we would get an explosion in innovation just from people who are wasting their shit, just working at a 9-to-5 or whatever.
Yeah. I think you'd see a new renaissance.
Yeah, you would.
And I think combs would be better. Hairbrushes would be better. Someone come up with an idea for a better hairbrush.
Oh yeah. Well, you would have all the best ideas just float to the surface.